Welcome back to another video of Tech and Navi. Today we'll be going over HackerRank. I'm starting this interview preparation kit. It's 1 week preparation HackerRank provided kit, and I'm going to be going through every problem in this kit and reviewing the answers with you guys. So let's jump right in. This is day 1, question 1. Given an array of integers, calculate the ratio of its elements that are positive, negative, and 0. Print the decimal value of each fraction on the new line with 6 places after the decimal. Note, this challenge introduces precision problems. The test cases are scaled to 6 decimal places, though answers with absolute error of up to 10 are at 10 to the power negative 4 are acceptable. Example 110 blah blah. There's another. So essentially, what the problem is asking us here, given an array, the array, so R is like the array that's going to be given to us, and in the array there's going to be positives, if you can see right here, elements 1 and 2, negatives, and zeros. Our job is to essentially find the size of the array, so in this case it's 5, and basically break up the positives from the negatives and the zeros. We want to see what's the fraction that populates the array of each integer type. So out of the entire array, how many positives are there? And if you see right here, the ratio is 2 to 5 to positives. So there is 0.4400, or 2 to the 5ths in terms of amount of positives in the number array, or the array. And how many negatives there are? There's 2 negatives, so 2/5 again, same ratio. And there's 1 0, so 1/5 is the amount of zeros that are in the array. Our job is to essentially find the amount of positives, zeros, and negatives and print them in that order. I don't know if I can, there's no like description in how you should print them. I don't think there's a constraint in how we should do it, but we're just going to go off the example and seeing that they start off by listing 2 positives, 2 negatives, and 1 0, and they went into that order. We're going to essentially do the same thing. So we're going to essentially want to write this down for ourselves. We're going to print out positives first, then negatives, then zeros. And after that, we're just going to jump into like coding it. I don't think there's any other constraint that they ask us. So input format. So yeah, so we have positive numbers, and arrays can be any negative numbers. The value of n is positive always, blah blah, print the following 3 lines. Okay, so awesome. Yeah, let's jump right into it. So first off, with this problem, we want to have a way so that we can see the amount of values that are in our array. So to do that, we're going to essentially make a size variable. And oops, we're going to write this in here. We're going to essentially create a size variable, and this size variable will hold the amounts of elements that are inside of our array, so that we have something to divide by once we find the positives, negatives, and zeros. So we're going to use the length function, and we're going to pass an array to it, in which would print out, give us our size. It would print out our size of the array. After we've received the size, we want to start iterating through each element inside the array and coordinate them to the types that they are. So we're going to iterate through each element inside the array, which is a simple for loop. And over here we want to make container variables. Now, these container variables essentially are going to be how we store positive, let's just say positive. These container variables would be how we store whether or not we found a negative, we found a 0, or we found a positive. And just like, obviously, just like any array, we don't know what these values are yet, so we haven't added them. We're going to set them to equal to 0. And when we iterate through them, we're going to update the counters for each of these container arrays, and at the end, we're going to essentially divide them by the total size. So I think the conceptual is pretty there now. So then we're going to go through the iteration. So as we're going through I in arrays, we're going to sort them out to these 3 container variables. So if I is less than 0, then that means it's negative. So we're going to update the negative value. If I is greater than 0, that means it's a positive. So we're going to update the positive variable. And if I is equal to 0, that means that it's a 0 value, we're going to update 0. And at the end, we want to print it out in positive, negative, and 0. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and print. And our positive values first. So we're going to divide it by size. And then we're going to print out our negative values. Divide that by size. And then we're going to print out our zeros. And this should work. Awesome. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and submit that. It's going to go against all test cases. And essentially what we did here is that we started off by making a container variable. The container variables hold our values for the array as we traverse through them. It's going to hold our positive values. It's going to hold our negative values. It's going to hold our zeros. We're going to go through the array. And as we go through the array, we're going to sort each element into their own category, into their own containers. If it's less than 0, that means it's a negative, and since we're dealing with integers, we don't need to worry about doubles or float points. And if it's greater than 0, then that means it's a positive. If it's equal to 0, then that means it's 0. Update them all and keep track of that. At the end, all we want is the printed statement, and we're going to send it out to output by dividing it by size, which we got by finding the length of the array with the length function. That was day number 1 of 1 week preparation kit from HackerRank. Please, I hope this video was helpful. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. I plan to make more videos in the future. See you in the next one.